This is the Red All Over review show, reaction show, and also a preview show. Now you'll see that there's absolutely no Josh Atherton because he couldn't be bothered. He reckons he's working too hard, but he couldn't be bothered, is my view. But we're all different. So you've got a dream team of me talking my usual nonsense, Tracy, Tracy in the elevator position of being high up on the screen, Craig in his normal position, and Dean in his normal position. So here we go. We're going to start off talking about, oh dear, talking about last night's performance away to Cardiff. So let's get into that one now. Right, Craig, tell me your thoughts about the starting lineup and the way we were set up before a ball was
Um,
kicked.
um, to be fair, I didn't know what Connor were doing because I noticed better were on bench, but there were nobody who could play left back. I come to the assumption that the only player would be playing there, which is Jack Shepherd, which is what happened, which is why they scored the first goal. I don't understand what Connor's doing. For me, it's it just baffles. It really baffles me. You're playing a centre back at left back, and then you're playing Watson, who's a right back at centre back. You're attacking with a four at back. You're defending with a five at back. You're expecting people. I mean, I messaged you guys during the game, and I was saying, "What Shepherd?" He keeps telling Kelly to come back at left back, and then he's telling Leray's Cleary to cover behind him. It was an absolute sham. It was like watching an under sevens game or something like that. You're going to top at league. We had a game plan, and obviously whatever he were planning completely went queso because we in 3 minutes we conceded. We in 20 minutes it would tell goalkeeper to go down so he could change everything again. Just for then Reyes Cleary to get an injury and then him to change everything
Well,
again.
hold on. Are you saying that Owen Goodman weren't injured?
Yeah, definitely.
Ah,
That's exactly what I'm saying.
that's a bit of
um,
a cynical view, not like you, Craig.
yeah, it were an absolute disgrace of a match to watch. I thought as best player on pitch were Keeler Dunn, second best O'Keefe, and the rest, I wasn't really impressed. I thought Connell had his worst game for us he's ever had. I think he got 3 assists or 2 assists for them.
Three,
Owen
three.
Goodman, I'm not overly satisfied with the way he's been playing neither. I thought the second goal went under his body and he could have got there. Um, and I'm gonna put my head on a pedestal here, and I think it's time for Connor to go. Um, not, and I don't say that lightly, because I like Connor. I think been a brilliant player. I just don't think he spent long enough as a coach. I think he's done 10 months or whatever it was, and then he's thrown into a manager's job, and I can't see tactically anything that he's shown me to prove he can change, he can turn our season around. It keeps continuously making the exact same mistakes over and over and over again. I'm still seeing Phillips up at wide right. I'm still seeing Watson playing at centre back. I'm still seeing us playing without a proper left back. I don't know why we're not buying a left back. Gent shown he can't play a third of a season. Do you mind anything else? And even when we have got a left wing back, he's not even putting him up pitch. So that shows how much he respects of better as a player. He's not even putting him on the pitch. He'd rather put Jack Shepherd at left back. So for me, I think if we want to improve things, which I don't think necessarily normally changing a manager would change all that much. I think that this time I think he'll probably be the best bet because I don't think he's got what it takes to manage in this league. I think he might have what it takes to manage at a higher league because he's going to have better players. But in this league, I think he's overcomplicating everything, and I think he's just confusing everybody. So yeah, that's my thoughts on yesterday's game.
That's fine, Craig. Can I ask our dear viewers if you agree or disagree with Craig? I think you might get quite a few agreeing with I agree with Craig. Please put it in the comments, and that should generate a lot of comments anyway. The thing I find particularly sad, though, Craig, talking about with what you're saying, is at the start of the season we started off pretty well, and a lot of people were saying that we wouldn't to enjoy Connor while we got him because he's going to be a top manager and we're not going to have him for very long because somebody much higher up the food chain, up the football pyramid, will come in for him. So get ready to not have him for very long because he'll move on of his own volition or somebody pulling him from us. And now these months later on, it's flicked and you're far from being alone, Craig. Far from being alone.
I
You know,
still
so
think he's going to be a good manager because he has the work ethic and the drive to get there. I just think it's too soon. Right now, it's too soon for him. He needs to take a step back and start shadowing. Do what Eddie Howe did. Eddie Howe took a couple of years out of the game, started going around the world, travelling, looking at how other clubs did things, how other teams did things. He come back a much better manager, and I think that's what Connor needs to do. I do think he's going to probably be a championship, maybe a Premier League manager, but I just think it's too soon, and this is too big of a job for him.
we'll get back to. I promise you all, we'll get back to the game in a few minutes. But what's your views on that, Tracy? Is the time now? Is it time to wait? Is it time to wield the axe? What's your view?
Tough. It's really tough. I mean,
Yeah.
it's hard because it's Ed and Art. I think all our Arts love Connor for what he did as a player. When he came back, it were all great. You know, he's going to come back as a player. That never really materialised. Then he took on the coaching role. He never really, I don't think, had a massive role. They were just set pieces coach, and then we're thrown into it. Was it too soon? Probably on reflection, yeah. I'm I'm a big believer that we need to try and look after managers, and this changing all the time clearly doesn't benefit us. However, we also can't continue in the vein that we're in. I don't think there's any easy answer. Because if we sack him, we're back to the who do we get, etc., etc. You know, what we're now 3 managers in 3 years, 4 if you include Duff, who also I know he chose to go, but we just don't seem to get anyone that wants to stay or we want to keep. Whereas with Connor, I think he sees the long term, or you would hope so. Having said that, if we continue like we did last night, we are going to be in a relegation fight, because that was dire. And you know, I stand with everything that Craig said. What was he thinking? What were he thinking? I don't know why he would think that starting 11 and the changes that he made to it. You know, even when Cleary went off injured, we then brought a better on, and I'm thinking, right, we're going to change. But then, well, you've got Lennon on the bench. If that's what you want to do, then let's replace a winger for a winger. I know they're different footed, but they can still play wide and cut inside or whatever. And I just think it all looked completely bizarre. And I just, even when you think, well, Shepherd's got to play left back, well, Watson's played left back anyway. So why? It was just baffling. And I thought to myself, is it naivety? Is it stupidity from him? Or is it just a bit of arrogance where he thought that we're better than we are? I don't know which it is. But whichever way, it were awful. And I think the first goal was his fault. None of the players, it was his fault, because we were set up so badly and that was then gave them the huge confidence that it did. We had a little bit of success. That lad maybe should have been sent off, but then the goal before half time, and we were poor all game. And what really worried me about last night was we had, like Craig said, I agree. I thought DKD was the only one who looked like he were ever going to produce anything. I know Keith did what he has done since he come back, worked hard, but other than that, we had nothing. We had no endeavour. We had no passion. We had no effort. We didn't look bothered at all. We looked like we'd given up at half time. And I'm thinking, well, he's got half time. It's only 2-0. It could have been 4. It's only 2. Can we do something? And the answer was no, we can't do anything. We're just going to probably get worse. The substitutes, you know, Young and Nathan, when he's come on, I think he brings on fresh energy, and he brings on. He were awful. We just looked like no matter what happened. And then looking at his substitutes, I'm no bigger. There's nobody loves Connell more than me. He were woeful last night. I won't sit here and say anything. Why did he take him off? Like you've got Bland, who are probably doing all right and can play in that position. So why aren't we taking Connell off? He looked like a person who'd not played for a month because he hasn't, and he looked rusty. So take him off. I just don't see why you're keeping him on the pitch. Scary, worrying.
I tell you what, Dean, the thing that bothered me about it, particularly where we set up, is that they clearly don't watch the away end shows, because Cy Willis told me absolutely clearly that they have wingers that hug the touchline and will attack your fullbacks, and you better have fullbacks that are on the metal, because otherwise they'll skin them. Well, maybe the way of dealing with it were not to have a fullback. 'Cause I don't think we had a left back to start with. We just didn't have one. As Craig said, we had a centre half, sort of trying to be centre half and also left back, and a full back playing other side, playing as a centre back. It just seemed all a bit much. So he cleared it watch, and it showed within 2.5 minutes that Jack Shepherd comes to the man with the ball. He just slots it through, and he is utterly on his own. Not sure. I know he lashed it, but I'm not sure he should be beaten that easily at your near post. But he was completely on his own after whatever it was, just over 2.5 minutes, and then that's that. As Craig says, he goes down injured, our goalkeeper. Bit of a reorganisation, but the damage is done. What do you reckon?
Well, absolutely, and I think both Craig and myself said even before the game had kicked off that our left flank was very, very open, just by simply the way they'd set up. I didn't realise at that time Shepherd was actually going to play left back. I thought, common sense was that Watson's played left back, so he must be playing left back. But actually, and then you've got Watson at left back, right-footed, Cleary, who can't defend to save his life, as many qualities as he might have otherwise. And then Jack Shepherd appeared there. And then at one point, O'Connell and Watson then swapped positions in the centre as well. And I thought, what a mess this is. How on earth can, anybody really understand on the pitch what's supposed to be happening here? Who's playing where and why? As Tracy said, I mean, Connell gave the ball away basically 3 times and, was responsible for 3 of the goals. And he was clearly off pace. Quite why, after, a couple of weeks out, you would have thought he might have been on pace. And that was what I was hoping for at last show. It was that he'd come back vibrant and full of vigour and determination and so on and so forth. And he was absolutely awful. I've always thought that Connell is a very decent footballer when there's nobody within about 10 feet of him. But once you get after Connell, that's when he starts playing back, loses the ball, misplaces passes. And that's basically what Cardiff did last night. They were all over him. The setup was wrong. And I think, we've got quite a number of young players, as we know, in the team. And they get disheartened so easily and so quickly. And I think that played a part as well. We're all set up. We're going against the league leaders. We've got a plan. 2 minutes in, we're done. And their heads are not there, quite the same way. The mentality isn't strong enough. And that's when you look to the more senior players to actually lead. But, I mean, Connell didn't lead, that's for sure. I agree, DKD ran himself into the ground. That's to his absolute credit. If there's stuff going on in the background with him, who knows? But the level of performance of a number of players was, I mean, Goodman, you could argue he was responsible for a couple of goals and never looked really secure.
Made a couple of decent saves, but he didn't look secure.
Yeah, he did.
Absolutely right.
Saves, and I can't argue with that. And I don't think it's entirely fair to sort of turn around and blame any one individual. I think there were a lot of individuals who didn't perform. I don't think Watson performed at all. And that second goal was, yeah, I think he could have done better, Goodman. But actually, you know, O'Connell and Watson had the opportunity to throw themselves in front of that guy, but they don't. And this is one of the problems we've had all season. Now, if that guy had had the ball in that position, a lot of teams' defences would have been absolutely throwing themselves at him to make sure that if he got a shot in, it was getting blocked, and it wasn't, and we stood around. I mean, there was so much stuff. I was really, really upset about, you know, how we went about it, how we set about it, the sort of heart that was shown was limited, to say the very least. I don't know what's going on with Yoga Nathan, as Tracy said. I mean, he was just strolling about as though.
Didn't get near any players. I watched him when he came on.
Didn't
get near any players to mark them or go to them.
No, and two long shots from Robinson. He was stood watching him do it, and I thought, you know, what's going on here? We need some sort of leadership, and I'm afraid I have to say this, that my level of blind optimism is now turning into pessimism, to say the least. And I think that performance last night was the performance of a team in a relegation situation.
I will agree with you on a number of things, Dean. The player after Connell, because I think he had the worst game he's ever had in a Barnsley shirt. Like you say, off the pace. Not sure why he came straight back in, but off the pace, and misplaced passes abounded, and misplaced passes that resulted in goals. But are also very disappointed in Tanai Watson, because he's been not too bad as a fullback. He's been quite solid, but the second goal, the guy just twisted inside him, and he couldn't turn to block it. So as soon as he pulled it inside, that were it. For the third goal, he's gone to the man. He's trying to jockey. The man's free. He's got all the time in the world to do what he wants. Nobody were tracking the guy that actually scored, so he just laid it into his path for him to score. And the last goal, a dreadful pass back to Watson from Connell. But if you're not going to get it and you're the last man, don't dive in. Just don't dive in. If you are going to dive in, and there's no point at 3-0 down, don't dive in. If you are going to, get the man as well, because he's going to score if you dive in and come away with it. But it was just easy. So I thought his defensive capabilities yesterday,
do you know what?
Shockingly poor for me. Were shocking.
I think in his defence, somewhat. I mean, he were poor. I'm not going to sit here like I say. I won't stand and say that. But that player don't seem to play two games in the same position. Even last night, as he played left back for a bit, he played like Dean said, he was playing centre for a bit, then he was right for a bit, and I just think again this with Connor, what is it with like putting, you know, square pegs in round holes? He's supposed to be a right back, isn't he? Well, play him at right back then. Like what? I just think, in fairness to him, I bet he's not played 2 games, 90 minutes in the same position. He just seems to play him wherever. He starts at right back. We make a sub. Let's switch him to left back. And I just think that's not to say those mistakes last night were irrelevant to where they were playing. But I do think in some ways, in his defence, we have no consistency about where he's playing.
No, it's a fair point. Absolutely fair point. I mean, he does have the odd game. I remember at Blackpool, you know, he wasn't playing particularly well when he got hooked by Connor. And I think, you know, as much as you'd like to think he's a 6, 7 out of 10 player, week in, week out, he probably isn't. And it's a fair point you make about him having to play in so many different positions. And I'm wondering if Connor's overcompensating for the programme that's coming up of Saturday, Tuesday, by taking people out, trying to rest them, and so on and so forth. And it looks so disjointed last night. I mean, nobody again seemed to know what they were supposed to be doing, and we have the grand game plans. Oh, we're going to have a game plan for this, game plan for that, game plan for the other. And maybe, I mean, Craig might very well be right about that. They're just getting confused a lot of the time because, you know, we're trying to rest players, so bring other players in, and they're playing out of position. And, you know, the whole thing just looked a complete mess last night. And, you know, I do fear that unless we get back to absolute basics, and that might mean, you know, something very, very simple, like we play two banks of four and two strikers, I don't know, just to get some results on the board, because, you know, we have somehow or other got to defend better, because we're not going to get results on the board. If we're going to concede, you know, 2 goals a game at least, we are in trouble.
I mean, sorry, Kev, just a sec, Craig. I mean, they're at the top of the table because they're the best side, and they they closed us down quickly. They sprinted at people to put them under pressure, but they didn't break sweat. They didn't have to break sweat yesterday. Right, Craig, let me ask your views on this, if you don't mind. In the first half, there was an incident that could have resulted in a second yellow card and a sending off when Kelly was done by Robertson just outside our box. What are your thoughts on it? Should he have been sent off? Okay? The referee apparently told Conor Hourihane when he asked him, well, they were a long way from their goal, so that's why that's what Conor said. What are your views on it?
Yeah, I think the referees got mixed up by what yellow card he should have given, because I think he's thinking of denying a goal scoring opportunity, which no, it wasn't, but he did stop a counter attack, and that is a yellow card offence. You're not allowed to fetch down a player, especially by dragging their arm, which is what he did. You know, and I think
he didn't play the ball at all, did he? Didn't play the ball.
No, not at all. He should have been straight off, and I think we've seen that happen in last few games. I think referees have been very, very poor, and it just always seems to be away games where it happens. You know, pandering to the crowd, I suppose, and yeah. But I mean, there should be a few bank accounts getting checked, in my opinion. That's what I was saying last night when I was sat there with me, and I was like, "This is just wrong." I mean, it's hard enough having to play top at league, but having to play top at league and referee, it's an absolute joke. It's quite obvious that he got order in his arm. O'Keefe's, I'm a bit 50-50 with. I'm like, it is soft, but it could be deemed as any push in the penalty area can knock you off balance and make you fall down. Now, O'Keefe, I've said it a number of times over a number of years that he is the biggest drama queen in the Barnsley FC, because he is as flamboyant as hell when he falls down, and he makes it look like he's playing on it. You know, he always looks like he's putting it on. But yeah, I just wanted to say some stats before we move on to the next point, which is Stevenage.
We're away yet off that, so don't worry about that. We've got a way to go yet.
Right. Well, I just wanted to let you know that Connor has the worst win record. He's got a worse record than Duff, Clark, and Collins. He's only got 38% win ratio, and that's not including his games at the end of last season, which would make that worse.
Yeah.
So it could be down around 35 if you include last season. Collins were on 47, Clark were on 42, and Duff were on 57. So that tells you how much worse he is doing. We are joint bottom for the most goals conceded per game, which is currently at 1.7, which is horrendous. I think it's tracking for us to be conceding 77 goals this season if it carries on the same way it's going, which is the most we've done since we've been in League One. We are 19th for XG, touches in the opposition box, and big chances created. We're 19th for all them 3 metrics. We're 22nd for biggest chances missed, which is another metric that doesn't exactly fill us with any joy. So, I mean, everything I've been looking at, 1 win in 7. I was looking through it and I was just getting depressed earlier. I had to stop. because I was just looking through all metrics and everything, and we are trending so bad. You know, we've got a good squad, and you know, I've even been looking at managers that are currently out of work or currently in work that could come in, and I think I've got a list of 7. So there's Darren Ferguson, Gary Rowett, Tony Mowbray, Paul Cook, Paul Warren, Neil Harris, Danny Cowley, and Gareth Ainsworth. They
You've
are
been busy.
either
Been busy today, haven't you?
they are either free agents or they're in League Two. And my pick of the bunch is Neil Harris because he's only conceded 22 goals in 27 games. So it'd be my pick. But hey, go on. I'll let you all go now.
Good.
I've got all that off my chest.
You're all right now, Craig. You're all right.
Yeah,
Just to create a bit, just say a bit of balance with the referee that other bank accounts are available. Don't forget that.
But his must be a bit larger.
Craig, you're going to get us shut down. I'm just going to blame you and just say we'll just.
In my opinion, that's what saves channel.
That'll do it. That'll do
Yeah,
it. Allegedly, Craig.
Yeah.
Allegedly.
Yeah.
I mean, from my point of view, the referee, and I'm not going to go on about it because I'm going to ask these two. I thought the referee got 2 big decisions hopelessly wrong. That's my personal view, and I'm not going to wax lyrical anymore because I'm sick of blaming.
That'll make
referees.
a change.
Well, I don't know if it would have changed. I don't know if it would have changed the outcome. I suspect it probably wouldn't, which is why I'm trying to be a bit kind of. I have to say that last night watching it on Sky Sports Plus, I was screaming at the television for those two. For those two, in particular, generally at our team and at the referee, and I'm with Craig that. They didn't need the ref to beat us. They didn't get into second gear. They didn't need the referee to, but it certainly made it a touch easier. So 2 big decisions. What do you think about the 2 big decisions in particular, or the referee in general, if you want, Tracy?
Well, first one, yeah, I thought it was a sending up. Well, I thought it was a second yellow, and at that point, it could have had an influence on the game. I mean, I don't for 1 minute want to sit here and say that would have changed the game because we'd have done this and this. Because, as you say, I think they could have probably played with 9 and still done that to us because we were so woeful. But yeah, it may well have made a difference to the game. It may have made it even more difficult, but who knows? But yeah, if you're looking at the pure decision, it were another yellow. And I thought it was quite an obvious. I just think if you'd not given him a yellow before, you'd have given him a yellow at one of them.
Yeah.
He looked at the guy and he thought, "Oh, you've already got one, so I'm not going to bother." But had you not, you would have got one for that. And I just thought basically he bottled it is the answer. Where it was on the pitch, as Craig said, I think it's a poor excuse by the ref to say that he was far away from our goal. I think it's absolute rubbish. He was preventing a counter attack. Would we have done anything with it? Probably not, but that's irrelevant. The other one, I weren't sure. I thought it were a bit soft, if I'm being honest. Had we had VAR, it would probably been given, but if it had been the other way around and that had been them and us and their player had gone down like that, I'd have probably been screaming that it went down too easily. So I think the second one were a bit more, yeah, maybe, but I think we'd have been fortunate to get that second one. But I think the first one, yeah, definitely, he should have been sent off. And it says everything when he gets taken off at half-time. Because for me, that tells you everything. The manager knows full on he should have been sent off and he were protecting him. And that told me everything when he didn't come out for the second half. It were being called by the commentator and every player, every person watching that game. But it was just confirmed by the fact that he agreed and were like, yeah, you're close there. You're coming off. So.
In fairness to Corey, it motored in front of their player at some speed. It only takes a touch to knock you off balance. But you know, you can go down with splayed legs, but you can go down a bit theatrically, can't you? And that can make the difference. So I think for me, the theatrical aspect of it were probably a bit too much. But I personally thought, on balance, soft. I would agree, but I think soft from their player who quickly put his hands up to say I didn't touch him. He did touch him, and I think at full pelt, I think it's enough to knock somebody off balance. But don't be as theatrical. But that's me. So what about you, Dean? Which side of the penalty decision do you sit?
Absolutely. I mean, the boy should have been booked in the first half. There's no doubt about that. I was screaming at the TV and said, like everybody else was saying, he will not come out for the second half now. And sure enough, he didn't. Again, with Tracy, probably, I'm not sure. We were so disorganised and so dispirited. I'm not sure it would have made that much difference. And I think you've hit the nail on the head. They are a far better team than us, and teams that are far better do tend to win games more often than not. As far as a penalty goes, I think it falls into that category of I've seen them given. That's how I wasn't sure myself, and I think, yeah, he's throwing himself over like that. Probably cost us a pen in the end, because yes, I know he was at reasonable pace at the time, and if you touch somebody at reasonable pace, yes, they're going to go over, but maybe he made a little bit more of it than necessary. So, yeah, again, would it have made any difference in the end? I'm not sure. We didn't have enough players. We could have got a penalty. We could have missed it. We could have scored it. We'd have been 2-1 down, but our players were not in form enough to get back in the game. So I didn't sort of come away from it thinking we've lost that because of the referee. But it didn't help us, did it?
It didn't, and I can tell you one person who'd been looking at the television and screaming his head off, and that's one of our predictors, Adrian Chesworth, because he predicted that Barnsley were going to win 5-4. So I bet he was screaming for a penalty. It was definitely a penalty, and I bet you with 5 minutes to go, he was chanting, "We're going to win 5-4" when we were 4-0 down. So Adrian, I felt for you. When that fourth one went in, I thought it's not now. Now is the time to pull it back and score 5 goals. Like I remember when we were losing 7-0 at Manchester United in our Premiership days, the crowd that were there, the Barnsley fans that were there, because I was there, were chanting, "We're going to win 8-7. That were you, Adrian, last night. In my head, that were you, Adrian. So, oh, well done. Let me ask you this, Craig. I'll go back to you, Craig. Reyes Cleary coming off injured. What's your thoughts on that?
I don't think you are. I think you'd had enough.
Connor said he weren't injured. He weren't physically injured, hadn't he? Didn't he say he weren't physically injured?
Well, what Connor said, well, because I've watched a couple of interviews, both, the Barnsley, the football club one, and listened to the Radio Sheffield one. He hinted that he didn't know he was injured, if he was, and it's certainly, if he was injured, he didn't disclose it in the lead up to the game. So that's what he were picked, because he'd no idea whether that he were injured. So whether Reyes had kept it to himself, I don't know if that's throwing him under the bus. I don't know what, but he were injured. He came off injured.
I think what has happened is, I think he's thinking of his future, and I think Keeler should be doing the same thing. Try and keep yourself fit, because you might get a move in next 2 or 3 days. Okay. I think personally, I think he saw a trend at match. He saw what were happening, and he were being told to sprint up and down pitch and help in defence. We all know Cleary likes to stay up pitch and affecting that area of the pitch. He didn't want to keep running back, and Jack Shepherd and Cole were all telling him to get back because he had to help defend, and he didn't want to do that. Obviously, Cleary is a sensational player going forward, but going back's not his strength. And the way we set up yesterday needed everybody to defend and, attack whenever we could. I do think, obviously, players are going to see and hear rumours just like we do. And personally, if I was advising either him or Keeler Dunn, I would be saying get out while you can, because this is a sinking ship, because that's what it looks like. That's not me talking as a fan. That's me talking, looking at the situation, looking at the stats, looking at the way we're playing, and looking at the way we've been over the past few years. We've finished 4th, then 6th, then 12th, now 15th. We're only going one way, and that's straight down to League Two. So I know some people aren't going to want to hear it, and people are going to be like, "Oh yeah, you're just being a doomsday and all this."
You are. Don't let that.
End of the day, we are going down, and we're going down fast. And if I had the chance of moving to a championship team, which both of them have, by the way, they have suitors that want to win the championship. I would be so quickly off that boat. It'd be unreal.
That's bang out of order, though, what Cleary did. If that's the case, and we don't know it is. We don't know it is. But, DKD was in the same position and consistently far better than Cleary, might I add, over the last 3 seasons. He did himself the wonder of good, because if I were a scout watching that last night, regardless of whether he might get injured, he might not, DKD continued to work extremely hard and create chances out of nothing. That's got to have done him favours. And I know it's been touted, Wrexham, Bristol City, whatever. But as a fan, I will always look at him and think, well, fair play. Whereas with Cleary, if he literally went off because he's scared of getting injured because he's getting a move, I'm at a point now where I think, well, get your sent off then, son. Because if that's what we mean to you, I don't want.
He wasn't limping when he went off. That's all I'm saying. From what I saw, he didn't look injured.
No, well, Connor's more or less said that, hasn't he? And you read into things. But for me, as a fan, I know what you're saying, Craig, but as a fan, we contribute to some of his wages, not much. I reckon my season ticket contributes to about a second of his wage, but you know what I mean. And I just think it's out of order, that, because when he came, he were a nobody, and I know he's earned it and he's done extremely well. And I'm not going to say he's not been great, because he has, and he's been offensive wise in the last 3 months, our best player, 100%. But I think it's poor. He just needed to get stuck in. If he weren't injured, show a bit of endeavour and a bit of grit and help out a bit, because he's not a defensive player, but you know what? You've just got to dig in, haven't you? And if he's gone off because I don't like this and I might be going to Blackburn or wherever, no, I'm not happy with that.
What do you think, Dean? Do you think that's the case, or do you think Craig's been overly harsh?
No, I mean, obviously, the conspiracy theorists are going to come out in droves over it.
They have done.
Yeah, exactly. And what did disappoint me about it, whether he's injured or he isn't injured, it looked to me, when the camera was close up on him and our physio girl was with him, it looked very much to me as though she had no say in whether he was fit or not. And he was the one saying, I'm coming off, basically. And she didn't seem to be examining him with it in any great depth as to what this injury was or how long it had been. I mean, it was all over in no time at all. And then he trudged off, shoulders down, and went off. So I'm with Tracy. I mean, sometimes you've got to fight a little bit. You've got to put, those kind of things. I know he's a young lad, and I know he'll have some agent in his ear all. I'm pretty sure about that. But even so, if you haven't got that desire to actually help your teammate, because what he was doing was basically letting his teammates down, because he's aware of how important he is to this team. I mean, it can't be that stupid. So if he has that kind of mental attitude in certain situations, well, maybe let's cash in. I
will just say, before I get lambasted in the comments, I didn't say.
I don't think you will do, to be honest. I don't think you will do.
No, but there will be somebody that's there. Craig, stop spreading. Right, I didn't say that he did fake it. I said it looked like he wasn't injured. That's it. So, like I said, draw your own assumptions or whatever from what you saw. But from my personal opinion, all I know is I've watched. Well, I've listened to lots of podcasts with lots of players, and they have all said in the past that players do this sort of thing to make sure they get their move that they want. And I'm just throwing it out there. It just seemed a bit funny.
I don't think it's an unreasonable conclusion to arrive at, Craig, at all. And I don't think you'll get lambasted for it because, from what I've seen on the fans forum, there's plenty of people have said something similar. My disappointment was that for whatever reason, that guy didn't look as though he had the fight in him, and he let his teammates down. That's whether it had anything to do with a move or otherwise, I do not know, and I don't know what's going on in the background. So maybe I'll get lambasted as well for saying it. But he didn't look like a guy who was, come on, I want to get on, I want to play. I don't want to, be taken off at this stage of the game. I want to make an impression.
I think you'll find when Craig goes off on one, like he's just done, with some justification, as we've all said, it's rare that people. You often think you're going to get lambasted, Craig, and the exact opposite is the case in the vast majority of time. With the comments,
You've got to be careful how you word things, though.
I agree with Craig, is what
take it
people
and
say.
run with it.
Yeah, I agree with Craig, is what people say. I'm going to take a slightly different view I think, to you three, that I'm going to give Race Cleary the benefit of the doubt because I'm going to provide a bit of balance. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt because at the start of the season, I don't think he was fit enough, and I think he's had to work hard to get himself fit. I think he can still get fitter, but he's up and down, up and down. I would like him. He's still got a lot to learn. He's got to track back better generally, not just when we haven't got a left back, and he is the left wing back or wherever. He has got to track back more because sometimes the player that's marking him gets free and he doesn't track back. So he needs to do that. But I'm gonna give the benefit of the doubt. I think he's either injured or felt something or felt ill and didn't feel right and should have said maybe before, but he came. I don't think he's the sort of person from what we hear about him around the place that despite all the stuff about people coming in for him, Blackburn and God knows who else, they're not going to offer enough money. Let's be right. He ain't going. They're not going to offer enough unless they offer a lot of money. They ain't going to offer a lot of money. Is here and is going to be a Barnsley player. So I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt and say he did what were right, that he couldn't do it for whatever reason, injured, ill, whatever reason, and couldn't do it, and so said I need to come off. So that's my stance on it. I'm going to be decent and reasonable about it, unlike your three who,
as opposed to us who are unreasonable and injured.
Now he's a host,
You've changed. You've changed.
Not like your three who's
gone over to dark
already
side.
to chuck a noose over a tree or something like that and hang him just because he's come off.
Oh, we won't say that.
No.
It won't be that serious.
He deserves a bit of it deserves a bit of leeway for what he's done so far for us, our attacking option. And I was very, very disappointed that he came off because I thought, well, that's that then. The one outlet where we can get the ball and he can get at people, isolate them and get at people. That's gone. And I know he changed with Ogbetter, but Ogbetter tried to play left back more rather than which is right proper. Right. God dear me. Right, before we continue, we'll get on to the next bit. I've got a few comments. There's a couple of comments that people made, and I'm going to read you a bit from an email I got from Cy Willis of Cardiff City World. So, Tracy's favourite, Alan Steeple, says, and don't disagree with him, what a disgrace. Barnsley are in relegation for me. I'm afraid 4-0 we were rubbish. And then Stephen Wright, and I feel for Stephen Wright, because he's a Barnsley lad who's living in Swansea. And he goes to watch Swansea, but he's a Barnsley fan because he likes to watch football. Comes up, met him a few times, he comes up. But he went to the game and, can you imagine Swansea and going there to support his team? He's put the worst performance I can remember watching the Reds on a cold night in Cardiff, hopefully a one-off. We were outplayed by a much better team. Felt for him. I felt for him. So, lastly, before we move on, I'll just read you, oh dear me, what Cy Willis says. He says, "Hey mate, thanks. We were both spot on regarding City getting at you in wide areas. Who knew? On another day, you might have had a penalty. Yeah. On another day, you might have had a penalty, even though it may have been a bit soft. We've had some rough referees ourselves. Same as with the second yellow for Robertson. But to be honest, the referees we've had this season, in particular last Saturday, I've only got a little bit of sympathy. So that's it. I thought we pressed exceptionally well in the first half and caused you huge, huge issues to the point where the manager changed it when the keeper went down injured or not, and you went long. All the best for the season. I hope you do well because you try to play football and you aren't anti-football like so many teams we see coming down to our place. So that's from Si. So thank you for that, Si. I'm going to say it means a lot. It flipping don't. No, it does. It means a lot, Simon. So thank you for that. Right. Two other things. Although we're not going to talk about it much because we haven't really seen him or know much about him, we've signed Scott. What was it? Banks, isn't it? I was going to say Ian Banks.
Banger.
He's a really. It might be a real. I wish we could. Scott Banks, who weren't signed in time to play last night, because he's at the German club at St. Pauli. But he's been on loan at Huddersfield. No, he's been on loan at Blackpool and played. I think been involved in about 20 games. So he's not getting much game time because they don't play with wingers, from what I understand. And before that, a couple of seasons ago, he played and did really well at Bradford City. So it's another winger that's probably a bit nearer to first team football for us than Charlie Lennon is. So next week we can talk, because hopefully we'll have seen him in the next two matches, a little bit more about Scott and about anybody else that we sign, if indeed we sign anybody else before the window shuts. And we'll also be able to talk about the rest of the transfer window, whether any players go, as everybody seems to be expecting. So I don't know. Time will tell. My biggest worry, which I've expressed to Football League World when they've asked about Keeler Dunn, as if we are going to sell anybody, I hope to goodness we do it in plenty of time to get some others in, because if they just leave, if, example, Keeler Dunn goes, if he does, then by goodness, we're in a bit of attacking, because we won't have anybody to play up front except David McGoldrick, and he's at this time not good. So anyway, that's that, and we're still all here. You know, we're still only 3 points above relegation. So although we are in a relegation battle, and we've only won. Well, we beat Blackpool recently, didn't we? And that's the first time we've won since 30th of December when we beat Leyton Orient. So the omens are not good, and certainly last night. I keep trying to be positive by saying last night were a free hit because we knew they were going to beat us. But I don't, I do mind people beating us, but it's the manner of it, the absolute manner of it.
Even that Blackpool match, we were lucky. I thought they played better than we did. Scott Banks were in it.
At this moment in time, Craig, I'll take every match till end of the season like that if we win. I don't care if we play rubbish, but we win. We need to win, and we've not been doing. So, transfer window, players in and out next week. So, finally, let's move on. This coming Saturday, and then the following Tuesday, we've got two matches. Two home matches. Very, very big games. Stevenage on Saturday, Northampton on Tuesday. But first and foremost, Stevenage. Now I'm hoping to talk to Matt Farley. We're going to record it before we recorded this, but we're having his tea, so didn't get to it. So I'm going to hope to talk to Matt Farley later on today, Wednesday night, to get the lowdown this season on Stevenage. But until then, let's do a quick preview. So, Craig, Stevenage at home. How are you feeling?
It's not been a happy hunting ground for us recently. I think we've lost the last 3 times we've played them. So that's great. They won the last game against Peterborough 1-0, but before that, they'd not won in 8. So they've kind of been in the same situation we've been in, because we've only won 1 in 7. So we both
0-0 then.
we
No,
both
can't
really
be.
need. We both could really do with the points. You know, they're still up there though, and we're declining steadily. They've scored 29 goals this season, conceded 24. Jamie Reid, you know, constant threat, big target man, good guy, good striker. He's scored 8 goals this season. You know, but I look at their defensive line, and that's where I'm most impressed. They've got Sweeney, Charlie Good, and Pierre Gianni, and I think they're 3 of the best centre backs in this league. I think they're absolutely brilliant. They've got a good team. They're playing a 3-4-1-2 this season. You know, we're under Alex Ravel, and they're going to be hard to break down. I mean, personally, I think this is going to be a very, very difficult game. But it's going to be the complete opposite to Cardiff. Whereas Cardiff, we had to think about how to stop them. Against Stevenage, we have to figure out how to break them down without them being able to counter on us. You know, and we don't tend to be good against teams that are like that, especially at home, which has been, you know, we've not been doing so well in lately. So it's going to be an interesting game. You know, it's not the sort of game we needed right now, which is going to be low scoring. It's going to be a slog of a game trying to break them down and just constantly being counted on. And yeah, it's just going to be very difficult. It's going to be a really difficult game, in my opinion.
They've been strong defensively for the last few seasons, and it's no flash in the pan, is it? I thought, you know, 16 clean sheets last year. I thought we might have stuffed them a little bit by getting Murphy Cooper, who'd been their goalkeeper last year, but it's not worked out for us, for us or them. And I think, you know, he said 24 goals conceded in 27 league games is some going, particularly when you think we've played 24 league games and we've conceded 40. So, you know, the difference between the defences is quite stark. They're not in the best of form, but they're just outside the playoffs, and you know, a win for them could put them well back in the, you know, put them back in the playoffs and reset them, if you like. And maybe we'll help them out with that. Tracy, what's your views coming into
Maybe
this
we
game?
will. I mean, they've really impressed me in terms of where they are and where they've been all season.
Yeah.
You know, fair play, because when Steve Evans obviously were there, he was the big character and he did really well. And I actually thought they were sort of a one-season wonder, if I'm being honest. I didn't really think that they'd carry that bounce on, and they have. And is it Alex Ravel, am I right? Is that their manager?
Ex-Rotherham striker, yeah.
Yeah. And he, you know, he's done extremely well to carry that on and sort of to take the baton, because I don't think many of us would have predicted them to be top 6 for the majority of the season. I know they've had a terrible recent run, but you know, prior to that, they were up there within the top 2 at early doors for you know, for the start of the season, and that stood them in good stead, because having those points on the board and because everyone else keeps beating each other has meant that they're still within you know, touching distance of the playoff position. So fair play, and they clearly got something about them. It's an horrendous fixture for us. We tend to do terribly against them, and you know, we are coming into it, well, based on what we've all said, worst performance of the season, key players not performing, players under pressure from agents. You know, it's just a cauldron of negativity, really. So it's a difficult one to be positive about. I just want Connor I want him to worry about us, not them. That's the thing. I think we've spent so much of this season, or he has, changing our formation based on the opposition, and I just think maybe it's time to just concentrate on us, and let's just have we play this way, we play in this formation, let's just do it, you know, because I think this tinkering that he's done and changing, clearly it just, start of the season we had a bit of consistency and we picked up some decent results. Since then, it's just, I'd just like us to just worry about us and not worry about what they're going to do. Jamie Reid's an handful, but I noticed he's not started all the games. I know he's of a veteran age now. But he's an handful, and he's this type of centre forward maybe 5 years ago with his age that we would love. I'd love something like that. I know Connor talks about somebody who's got pace and runs into open spaces, but personally, I'd love a centre forward of his sort of stature. But we'll see what happens in our shopping basket within the next week. But yeah, overall, I am apprehensive, shall we say, not confident about the weekend.
One thing I will say, Dean, I mean, defensively, we know that they're, the stats are there, but what we've seen ourselves of them, that they're defensively very strong. Offensively, they've not been quite as fluent offensively. They've scored 29 goals in 27 league games, whereas in fairness, we've scored 35. No, 37. Sorry, I tell a lie. 37, and we played 2 games less. So offensively, they've not been as fluent in their attacking as we have. So maybe a bit of hope. I don't know. I'm clutching.
Yeah,
Help me,
well,
Dean. I'm clutching. Get your positive head back on, Dean, because I'm clutching.
Well, I'll try. It's difficult. I mean, I've been as miserable sin all day.
Well, maybe you should put your hat on, but put your baseball hat on backwards. That usually cheers you up a bit. I'm clutching at straws. I'm trying out.
Yeah, no. I mean, they have been on a bad run in comparison to the early part of the season. But the one thing about them is that they don't concede many goals. They might be on a bad run of results, but they're not getting any thumpings. They're not going, to Cardiff and losing 4-0 or Exeter and losing 3-0 or whatever it was. So
is this you being positive? Is this you being positive?
I don't think. Well, no, I'm coming on to it. But
talk yourself into it. Talk yourself into being positive.
I'm trying really hard.
4-0, 3-0. That's not
to say. Well, look, yeah, all right. On the offence, they don't score a lot of goals, which is good news with our defence. That our defence might not be under quite the same amount of pressure that a lot of teams have put us under. We might not concede 3 or 4. So that's a fairly positive thing. But I'm a bit with Tracy, really. I'm, a bit lacking in confidence at the moment. How the game will pan out, I don't think it's going to be a particularly exciting game, because I think they'll just be efficient. I think they'll press us. Their defence is obviously a big strength of theirs. I mean, the fact that Murphy Cooper, who, I think is a decent keeper, I don't think he's a brilliant keeper, kept, 19 clean sheets last season. Far more down to the defence than probably his abilities. He'll have played his part, obviously, but I mean, Charlie Goods, he's a seasoned League One pro. Sweeney's a good centre back. Can't remember the other one, Craig.
Carl Piergiani. Yeah. Who I think's an outstanding centre half.
They're good, and it's going to be a tough game. There's going to be very little atmosphere because I don't think the crowd is going to be there. So the players are going to have to, lift themselves in order to get whatever the crowd is behind them. But I mean, it could be a really low crowd. I mean, Stevenage are hardly the most attractive opposition for the floating fan or what have you. The weather's not great. All in all, it could be a fairly dour game. I don't see many goals.
You're selling it here, Dean. You're selling it to people. I bet club are going to be well impressed that you're selling it so well.
Well, I'm trying to be a realist for once. I mean, I've spent all season been so positive about everything, and it's blown up in my face this last few weeks. So, yeah, I mean, I'd love the fans to get behind them, and I do find it really depressing that on all these fans forums, people are tearing the back out of the board, the manager, the players, the captain, the tactics, everything.
Just don't read them.
But they don't go to the games. They don't see a full picture, because I'm sorry, but you can watch games on TV and it gives you a certain angle, but sometimes you need to be there to actually see what's going on, what the interactions are. how people move around the pitch, what the interactions are with the manager. It doesn't always come across on TV, and that drives me mad. So, I mean, I'd be absolutely delighted if we could get 12,000 people in there, but I don't see it really.
Well, we are at possibly our lowest ebb for quite a while, 3 points above relegation. There is an argument that says that now is the time to get behind him as much as is humanly possible, not drag them down even further. Be very, very difficult, particularly after last night. But maybe now's the time to try to get there and get behind them from the first to the last whistle. Get the flag out. Do something. I don't know. Do something. Get the flag out. Get the drum beating. Get people in the Ponty end. Season ticket holders. Easy to watch it on telly or just not bother. Go shopping instead. You got season tickets. Get behind them if you can, because I think the need is there. What I will say finally about Stevenage is, we've said strong defence, not so strong going forward apart from Jamie Reid or up front with goal scoring. They've done the right thing. They've brought from Bristol City, they've brought Harry Cornick in, who's a decent player and will be a very decent player at this level. So they're trying to address their frailties, if you want to call it a frailty. Not bad since they're just outside the playoffs. But, you know, we all have pluses and minuses. So they're trying to do something about it. So it's there for us to take note and try and do the same, and we know where our frailties lie, defensively and attacking wise. So we've got a few days to do it in. So finally, going to come to predictions. So get your thoughts, because we're going to have predictions. If anybody else got predictions, get them down. Wayne Hamilton's the only one that got the score right last night. So well done, Wayne. 4-0. And I say I felt for Adrian Chesworth, but it's one of them things, isn't it? So here we go. Tracy, what's your prediction?
You know, I'm not Mr. Positive as much as Dean, but I tend to be, when I'm talking about Barnsley Football Club, I always edge on positivity versus negativity. It's what we're doing it. However, I think we'll lose.
Have you taken your fence down?
It's down. I've kicked it over. Yeah, it's gone.
Last night you kicked it down.
Yeah, in anger, put my foot straight through it. 2-1 them.
2-1 to them. Dean?
I reckon he's borrowed it, by the way. I reckon he's going to borrow it. My fence.
Well, you've been on here, has had somebody erecting it so he can jump on it. That's where I think. Well, there you go.
We'll see, but that's what I'm thinking.
Come on, Dean.
I'm just...
You've had all day to think about predictions.
It goes against the grain, but I'm afraid I can't see us doing anything. I think Stevenage will win 1-0.
2-1, 1-0 to Stevenage. Oh, Craig. You're my last hope, Craig. And, I'm not that hopeful.
So, prediction, we'll only just survive relegation and Connor will be gone in March. But for the game, I'll say... Looking back at my stats, conceding 1.7 goals per game, I'm going to think 2-0 loss.
2-0 loss. Ouch.
We'll not break them down.
Come back, Josh. All is forgiven. That's all I can say. Don't leave me with these three.
It's the best defence. It's the best defence in the league. By the way,
don't leave these
by 3 goals as well.
Josh, don't leave me with these 3 ever again. Well, I'm gonna show you all up when we win 2-1. So get ready for the instant reaction when we win 2-1. And jobs are good. And so your comments on the game, please, below. Your predictions, get them in the comments below. Please, if you've not subscribed, subscribe. We need your help as well as Barnsley need your help. If you like the show or like Craig banging on and ranting on, which I personally do, put a like on. Let's have some likes, please. And all I can say is thank you very much, you 3, for dragging me down to your level. And thank you to all of you that might watch the show. All the best.